What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews, and I'm back here once again to give you another comprehensive preview of all 6 games on this upcoming slate. As always, I'll take you through all the key players. We'll go through all their props, their lines, their form. We'll talk about their matchups. And I do all this to give you all the information that you need, whether you want to bet parlays, multis, just single bets. If you want to go for a Hail Mary and pay off your home loan in one bet, I've got the information to help you do that. So in this video, I'll be sharing my screen. I'll take you through a tool that's called props.cash. If you're interested in taking your research to another level, you can sign up to props.cash today, get 25% of your first month by using my code DAFT25. Let's go. We're getting things started with the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Charlotte Hornets. First player I want to talk you through was Brandon Miller. Now, we picked him to have an excellent game for the against the Indiana Pacers in our last preview. He delivered 35 points because his matchup was great. Well, he's got another great matchup today. The Los Angeles Lakers allow the most points to shooting guards over the last 30 days. Brandon Miller's hit this as 7 of 10 and 3 of his last 5. He's averaging 25 points per game in his last 5. He's got one matchup against the Lakers earlier this season at the end of December, and he scored 17 points against them. In that game, played 28 minutes, and he only attempted 9 shots. In his last 5 games, he's playing 36 minutes a game, and he's attempting 20 shots per game. Man, I really like this pick for Brandon Miller already, and I haven't done any more research than just this, but definitely one that I'm going to be considering for this game tomorrow. Let's jump into the next player. It's Miles Bridges. Now, he has a difficult matchup when it comes to his boards because the Lakers allow the 5th fewest rebounds to power forwards. Looking at him in the last 10 games, he's hit this in 5 of 10 and 3 of his last 5. His last game against the Lakers, he only had 5 rebounds. So his line set at 7.5. He has had some pretty big rebounds. One to really call out is this game against the New York Knicks. He had 10 rebounds. And the Knicks, I know that they allow the least or the second least rebounds to power forwards, but no Julius Randle. So provided that LeBron James plays in this one, Miles Bridges, if he picks him up, he's probably going to have a difficult matchup. So I don't hate that. Let's have a quick look at his points. Line's at 24.5. He's hit this in 3 of 10 and in 1 of 5. He's actually gone under his points line in a lot of games this year. So he's only hit this 24.5 point line in 22% of the games this year. Scored 20 points in that matchup against the Lakers a month ago. Who we're going to look at next? D'Angelo Russell. So the Hornets, they allow the 4th most rebounds to point guards. But let's have a look at all of his prop lines real quick. Points-wise, lines at 17.5. He's gone under in his last 3, but he did go over in his 7 prior games to that. He's this in 2 of his last 5. Matching up against the Charlotte Hornets, played once this year, he scored 16 points. Rebound-wise for D'Lo, 4 of his last 10, 2 of his last 5, lines at 2.5. Yeah, look, you could take him for the over there. He's covered it in his last 2 games against the Hornets, but the line is pretty juiced, minus 162. Assist-wise, hit this in 4 of 10 and 1 of his last 5. Passed the ball very well against the Hornets. 9 assists in that game earlier this year. 10 assists about a year and a half ago. Looking at Austin Reeves, the Hornets allow the fewest points to shooting guards over the last 30 days. Austin Reeves has been killing it lately. Last 3 games, 28, 32, and 22. He's covered this line in 5 of his last 10, but 4 of his last 5. Looking at his games against the Hornets, he scored 16 points in his last game against them earlier this year and covered this line, averaging 17 points per game in 3 matchups. Austin Reeves. Let's quickly check his assists because we know he's capable of that. Line's at 5.5. He's covered this in 5 of 10 and 3 of his last 5. Looking at his matchup with the Hornets, had 4 assists in that last matchup against them. So, yeah, lines look quite just like right on for Austin Reeves at the moment, but points-wise, he's been killing that lately. But again, that's a difficult matchup apparently. So now let's look at the game time decision kings, LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Let's kick it off with AD. Points. Lines at 26.5. He's covered this in 3 of 10 and 1 of 5. Scored 26 points against the Hornets earlier this year. Rebounds, 5 of 10. 2 of his last 5. He's covered this 12.5 rebound line. He only had 8 rebounds against them. Now, the Hornets do allow the most points and the second most rebounds to centers, but AD didn't take advantage of that matchup when they last played. And assist-wise, 6 of his last 10. 2 of his last 5, and he had 2 assists in that last matchup against the Hornets. So I'm just going to quickly check to see what his minutes were. Played 26 minutes in that last game against the Hornets. Still shot the ball 19 times, but didn't absolutely dominate the way you think he would. Let's have a look at LeBron James. Now, he scored 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 11 assists in that last matchup against the Charlotte Hornets, so keep that in mind. In his last 10, his line's at 24.5. He's covered this in 5 of 10, but he's gone under in 3 straight. Rebounds, 4 of 10, 2 of his last 5. Assists, 4 of 10, and 3 of his last 5. So, yeah, look, his assist line is probably the only one that I would explore, but even that is quite high. So, PRA for LeBron James is 40.5. He's gone under in 7 of his last 10 games. He went under in his last game against the Hornets with 32. I just don't think he's going to be required to put up so many numbers in this one. So, yeah, I'm not taking LeBron James for under, but just saying, that's the way that I'm leaning right now. Let's get into the next game. It's the Sacramento Kings versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. First player that we're looking at is Darius Garland. Now, the Kings allow the third most rebounds to point guard, so we'll check everything for Darius now. He's played 3 games since he's come back from injury. Detroit, Memphis, and the Spurs. So, points-wise, he has been covering this quite well if you look at his last 10, but we already know that he's only been back for 3 games. Hasn't covered it very well. Covered it in his first game. He's gone under since. Head-to-head matchups, though, has scored well, but I wouldn't even say he scored well because his line in this game was almost 20 points. So, I think if we factor in the 13.5-point line, does that mean there clearly is a minutes restriction? It looks like it. 20 minutes, 24 minutes, and 23 minutes. So Garland on a minutes restriction. Rebound-wise, assist-wise, nothing spectacular happening here. So 4, 7, and 3. His line set at 4.5. So his line is, I think, 4.5 assists if he's only going to play half of what he normally would. Well, it's not half, but yeah, I wouldn't be putting anything on Darius Garland until he's playing regular minutes. What that means, though, if he's on a minutes restriction, Donovan Mitchell, I think is, like, my first thought, assists are going to be great, but let's check out all of his lines. The Kings do allow the 7th most points to shooting guard, so we'll start there. Lines at 28.5. He's hit this in 5 of 10, 3 of his last 5. Scored 22 points in his last matchup against the Kings. He went for 22, 2 rebounds, and only 5 assists. Looking at his rebounds real quick, he's covered his line in 5 of 10 and 3 of his last 5. Assists, he's covered this assist line of 6.5 in 9 of his last 10 and 4 of his last 5. He's been killing this. This line is quite juiced though, minus 154. But based off what we see here, how does he not? The Kings, they give up the 10th most assists in the league. So it's not a bad matchup. And Garland's obviously going to be a little bit restricted minutes-wise. So don't hate that for Mitchell. Not at all. Let's have a look at Evan Mobley. So the Kings allow the 6th most points and the 5th most assists to power forward. So let's start with assists because we're already there. His line's at 1.5. He's juiced to the gills. 2.5 means you'll get plus money. But he's hit this 1.5 line in 6 of 10, 3 of his last 5. Had 2 assists in his last matchup against the Kings. Rebound-wise, 7 of his last 10, 3 of his last 5. And he had 12 rebounds in his last matchup against the Kings. He's still on his minutes restriction, though, by the looks of it. 20, 22, and 24 minutes. It is rising, but he's not playing his full complement of minutes just yet. Points-wise, he scored 10, 8, and 28 since he's come back from his injury. Lines at 12.5. He just scored 28 points. Last matchup against the Kings, he scored 16. Well, every matchup against the Kings, he scored 16, but he did that playing an average of 35 minutes. He'll probably only play 25 minutes, so 12.5 might be a bit of a stretch for Evan Mobley, so I shan't be touching him either. Jarrett Allen is someone that I may touch, but he's a game time decision in this one. The Kings allow the least points to centers, though, so let's check that out. He's covered this line of 16.5 in 5 of his last 10 and 3 of his last 5. Matchup against the Kings, last game he scored 12 points against them. Rebound-wise, 11.5 the line. He's covered it in 6 of his last 10, 3 of his last 5. He's gone under this in all 3 games against the Kings. Had 9 rebounds against them earlier this year. Assist-wise, yeah, he's not doing much of that at all. It's almost at full strength, the Cavs. So Jarrett Allen not requiring to get them dimes. Let's have a look at De'Aaron Fox. So the Cavs allow the 5th fewest points and the 2nd fewest assists to point guard. So difficult matchup for De'Aaron Fox in this one. Well, let's see how difficult it really is. Points-wise, his line's at 24.5. He's covered this in 6 of 10 and 3 of his last 5. He scored 28 points in his last matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Assist-wise, line's at 4.5. He's gone under this in 4 straight, but he has covered this in 5 of his last 10. And he had 6 assists in his last matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So matchup might be difficult, but De'Aaron Fox smashed both his points and his assist line the last time they faced each other. The next one, Kevin Huerter perhaps, or even Malik Monk. I think factor just the matchup in this, that the Cavs allow the fewest points and the second fewest assists to shooting guards. So Huerter's got under his assists in all games against the Cavs. In his last 10, he has covered in 8 of his last 10. He's got over in 4 of his last 5. Points-wise, he's got over in 7 of his last 10 and 4 of his last 5. And against the Cavs, he's done very well. 14, 19, and 20. So, look, despite the matchup, Kevin Huerter's definitely put the points on as well. But, hey, I'm not sure which way I'm leaning with that one right now. Would have to dive a little bit further into it. Domantas Sabonis, let's have a look at this fella. Where is he? Points lines at 18.5. The Cavs, they allow the 7th fewest points, the 2nd fewest rebounds, and the 7th fewest assists to centers. So, difficult matchup for Sabonis. But let's see how he's fared in the recent form and how he's gone against the Cavs. 18.5. He's covered this in 6 of his last 10 and 3 of his last 5. Up against the Cavs, scored 23 and covered this line. So, fuck the matchup, according to Sabonis. Rebound-wise, he did only have 9 rebounds against them. His line's at 13.5. He's covered in 4 of 10 and 3 of his last 5. Assist-wise, line's at 7.5. He's covered in 6 of his last 10, 2 of his last 5, and he had 10 assists in that last matchup against the Cavs. So, look, real difficult one to read. And you know how I make a short list of players before I make my final bets. I'll wait till I get a little bit aroused. And to be honest, not much is really arousing me in this game. Probably Donovan Mitchell assists, but that hits so often. I just don't want it to be the day where I back him and he finally shits himself. So Donovan Mitchell got me mildly erect, but I don't know if I'm there yet. Let's jump into the next one. It's a Dallas Mavericks versus 76ers. A lot of players are game time decisions in this one, so limited lines available. So we'll have a look at Tyrese Maxey first, and the Mavs allow the 4th fewest assist to point guards. We'll check them all. Why not? Points-wise, he scored 29 and 22 against the Dallas Mavericks. In his last 10, he's covered this line 3 times. He's gone 1 of his last 5. I think that line might be a little bit too high. Looking at his assists, though, line's at 6.5. He's covered in 5 of his last 10, 2 of his last 5, and he's gone well under his last 3. So I'm picking points and assists, 37.5 for Tyrese Maxey. He's only covered this at 23% this season. The Mavs are not the greatest defensive team in the world, but they have done a decent job against point guards. It's usually the size, the power forwards, your centers who do a bit of damage with the Mavs. If Tyrese Maxey does play, I'd be leaning his under in points and assists right now. Look at that. Under in 8 of his last 10. He's averaging 32.8. The line's at 37.5. And I know the 76ers don't have many other people to score, but it just feels like a lot right now. Speaking of 76ers, let's jump to Tobias Harris. Here's a game time decision. The Mavs allow the 2nd most points to power forwards. So if Tobias Harris does play, I don't hate this one at all. So his line's at 22.5. He's covered this in 5 of his last 10, 2 of his last 5, but he struggled against the Dallas Mavericks, but there's also the Joel Embiid factor. Rebound-wise, line's at 6.5. He's covered in 3 of 10, 1 of his last 5, gone under his last 2 against Dallas. Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, they're both game time decisions, but based on what I could tell of RotoWire, Kyrie's likely to play. Luka, we're not too sure about. So let's have a look at Luka, see what his stupid line's at now. Last time he played, his line was at 38.5, almost fell off my chair. Today, it's a little bit more sensible against the Philadelphia 76ers. And the 76ers allow the least points and the 3rd fewest assists to point guards. Despite that, Luka's injured status, his line is set at 36.5. For fuck's sake, this guy's a goddamn computer game. 36.5. He's hit this 4 of his last 10 and still 3 of his last 5. He's averaging 34.8 points per game this season. So just a historic run. He's actually covered this in 8 of his last 15 games, which is pretty wild. Rebound-wise, line's at 9.5. He's covered this in 4 of 10, 2 of his last 5. 10 rebounds against the 76ers last time, only 24 points. 8 assists, but that was last season. Let's have a look at his assists. Lines at 9.5. He's covered in 5 of 10, 3 of his last 5, and 1 of his last 2 against the 76ers. It's just crazy. PRA wise, 55.5. He's a freak. He's actually been hitting this quite well. He's averaging 65 PRA in his last 5. Just monstrous. So, look, I don't think I could bet any lines this high, but sit back and enjoy the ride, I say. Kyrie Irving, 76ers allow the second most assists to shooting guards. But if Luke is out, Kyrie will be the point guard. So, I don't know. One to watch. Kyrie actually hasn't played a game in quite some time. Last game was against the Boston Celtics. I think that was over a week and a half ago. So he's been out for quite some time. Check to see if there's a minutes restriction, but his line's at 27.5, so that tells me there probably isn't. He's hit this in 6 of 10, 3 of his last 5. Done okay against Philly in the past. Rebounds, his line's at 5.5. He's hit this in 7 of his last 10. Had 6 rebounds in his last game against Philly. Here's his assists, 10, 6, and 5. And in his last 10, 7 of his last 10, 4 of his last 5. But, yeah, look, my advice is just don't bet on Kyrie Irving. First game back since a long absence. You know, maybe take his under in points. He could be a little bit cold, but Kyrie's my favorite player, and I shan't be betting his unders. Just a public service announcement. Let's pump the brakes for a second. Firstly, thank you to everyone who has subbed, liked, and commented on these videos for the last few days. Should be blowing up. I think we can get to 3,000 subscribers real quick. So I just wanted to say thank you. The other thing was it is a more serious question. I wanted to get some more feedback based on how these videos are being presented because, look, one thing I know for sure, I don't want to pump them out for longer than an hour. It's an hour for you to watch, but if you think about how much time I put into it, it adds up to be a lot more. But in terms of the content of this video, I wanted to know, bigger slates, it can get a little bit tiresome. So I wanted to know, would you like me to keep doing things the way that I am currently doing? Or would you like me to go through less players and do more detail? Or continue to do most players with just high level details? So you let me know. Do you want more or less players and less or more detail, pretty much? So you guys let me know. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let's get back to the preview. Chee-hoo! Looking at the Los Angeles Clippers. Clippers. The hell is that? The Los Angeles Clippers versus the Atlanta Hawks. First player we're diving through is Trae Young. The Clippers do allow the least rebounds to point guards, so just keep that in mind. Let's have a look at his rebounds real quick. Hasn't been rebounding well anyway. You can get plus money if you're taking under 2.5, but you'd have to be some sort of psychopath to take an under 2.5 of anything. I reckon if I'm on there for 20 minutes, there's a chance I can get 2.5 rebounds. So I'm not game enough for that, but let's check his other lines. Lines at 26.5 points. He's covered this in 5 of his last 10, 4 of his last 5. And he's gone over this his last 2 games against the Los Angeles Clippers. But the Clippers are rolling right now defensively. Pretty sound at the moment. But look, Trae's got it done against him in the past, and he's been doing it recently. Assist-wise, lines at 9.5. He's covered this in 7 of 10, 4 of his last 5. And he had 10 assists in his last matchup against the Clippers. So, look, that doesn't get me aroused. Points-wise, I can still get aroused by that. Because, look, Trae Young's shooting this thing from deep at the moment. And it doesn't matter how good your defense is. You've got to step out to him, then he can beat you, then he's got floaters. So I think Trae Young, points-wise, I don't hate that line. Just saying. Might get me erect. Just possibly. The other one's more of an FYI. So Sadiq Bey and DeAndre Hunter, both game-time decisions. But if they do play, don't look at their rebound prop because the Clippers allow the least rebounds to small forwards. I did take Jimmy Butler to get just 4 rebounds today up against the Clippers. His line was at like 5.5. I took him for 4, and that was absolute sweat. I honestly thought he finished the game on 3. Then I checked the stat after the game, and it got moved to 4. So he got credited for something, but yeah, don't want you guys to go through the same sweat. Who do we want to look at, though? Jalen Johnson from the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the Clippers allow the 7th most rebounds and assists to power forwards. Assist-wise, I thought of this straight away. 3.5 assists is his line. You can get it for plus money. He had a good assist matchup against the Golden State Warriors. His line was 3.5 then, and he rattled off 8 assists. So he's more than capable of getting it done on the assist front, so I don't mind that. He's hit this in 5 of 10, 3 of his last 5. Rebounds-wise, he has a good matchup against the Clippers. He's hit this in only 3 of his last 5, 3 of his last 10. So you probably have to investigate his rebound prop a little bit further. Check to see how power forwards have been rebounding against the Los Angeles Clippers more recently. And then, yeah, take it from there. But Jalen Johnson, I do like his assist. Pretty erect. Getting pretty erect there with JJ. Anyway, Paul George, my God. Where's PG? Can't see his line on this screen. Great. Now, the Hawks do allow the 7th most points to small forwards, so keep that in mind when Paul George's props do come out, if they ever do. But the man who's got a better matchup is Kawhi Leonard, and the Hawks allow the 3rd most points to power forwards. Kawhi's hit this in 3 of his last 5. He's averaging 29 points per game in that span. Last 2 games against the Hawks, 29 and 32, so that's not too bad at all. Rebound-wise, line's at 6.5. He's hit this in 7 of 10, 4 of his last 5. He's hit it in both his games against the Atlanta Hawks with 7 and 8. It's all looking nice. Assist-wise, line's at 3.5. He's hit this in 6 of 10, 2 of 5, and averaging 4 assists against them. So, look, he's played quite well against the Atlanta Hawks. The matchup is a good one for him. He is on a back-to-back. So before anyone makes any bets on Kawhi Leonard, just check his numbers on a back-to-back, his minutes and all that type of shit. So, but not bad, Kawhi, not bad at all. The last one I want to talk through is not on the board at the moment, but I wanted to talk through Zubac. The Hawks allow the 4th most rebounds to centers. So when that's on the board, you can take a look. Let's have a quick look at DeJounte Murray. Points-wise, line's at 22.5. He's hit this in 5 of his last 10. He's gone under in both his games against the Clippers. Rebound-wise, line is at 5.5. He's hit that in 5 of his last 10. Had 6 rebounds against the Clippers. Assist-wise, had 8 assists in his last game against them. Line's at 5.5. He's hit this in 6 of his last 10 and 4 of his last 5. So that's not bad at all. Recent form's good. Form against the opponent. Look, maybe 4 assists. Just a little cheeky one for your parlays for DeJounte Murray. Let's have a look at James Harden. Points-wise, line is at 21.5. He's hit this in 4 of 10. 1 of his last 5. And he hasn't versed the Atlanta Hawks in quite some time. Rebound-wise, he's hit this in 5 of 10 and 4 of his last 5. Can you believe it, right? He went on this horny stretch here. I think in this game against the Pistons, I had him to get 4 rebounds. I think that was a one leg that killed me for winning a couple $1,000. What a bloke this guy is, James Harden, I swear. Then you got 8 rebounds against the Heat today. Anyway, before I get too upset, let's move on to his assists. Line's at 9.5. He's covered in 5 of 10 and 2 of his last 5. Yeah, look, the Hawks, they leak a lot of points and they give up a lot of assists. 9.5 assists. Yeah, look, potentially. But I think I can see value in someone like maybe Kawhi getting a lot of assists, Terrence Mann perhaps, because a lot of assists are going to be had. James Harden, 9.5. Yeah, look, maybe I'm still upset about the rebound prop. I'm not too sure. But what I do know for sure is that none of these James Harden plays have got me even close to erect. I'm flaccid, barely even aroused. Come on, James. Get a move on. We're jumping into the Golden State Warriors versus the Brooklyn Nets. Kicking it off with Steph Curry, though. He just had 60 points against the Atlanta Hawks. So this man wakes up erect every day, goes to sleep just as hard, and for good reason. He's been killing it lately. He's covered in 4 of his last 5. He's also got an excellent matchup because the Nets allow the 2nd most points to point guards this season and over the last 30 days. So I like this one already. Give it to me. Steph Curry, over 29.5 points. You'll probably see other YouTube content creators doing the exact same thing. It's a great bet. I take this all the way up to 50 because he's an absolute machine if he's going to keep shooting the ball like that. Look, he probably won't. But 29.5, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, Steph Curry. Let's talk about how he's gone against them. 37 points in his last matchup against the Brooklyn Nets. That was this season. He could definitely replicate that. Rebounds, lines at 4.5. He's covered in 5 of 10. He's hit it in 4 of 5. He had 3 rebounds in his last matchup against the Brooklyn Nets. He also had 1 assist against the Brooklyn Nets. Last 10, his line's at 5.5. He's covered this 8 times. He's covered it 3 of his last 5. So Steph Curry, look, I'm not loving his assists to be honest, but his points, give me that. Let's talk about Draymond Green for a second. The Nets allow the 5th least points to centers. Now, his line's at 7.5. He's covered that in 6 of 10, 3 of 5, and he scored 9 points in his last game against Brooklyn. That was last year. Rebound-wise, 4 of his last 10, 2 of his last 5. Assist-wise, 5 of his last 10, 3 of his last 5. So, nah, you're not doing it for me either, Draymond. If we're sticking with the Warriors, who else we got? Podziemski. I think he's starting at shooting guard tomorrow. Andrew Wiggins is out, so Clay moves to the 3. Now, his lines are a little bit higher because he is in a different role, but this guy is capable of a lot of rebounds and a lot of assists if you get him on the right day. The Brooklyn Nets, they don't allow many assists, so I may not be looking there. Rebound-wise, could this be a game where this bloke explodes? He's covered this in 5 of his last 10, 3 of his last 5. He had 5 rebounds against the Brooklyn Nets when they last played. He did play 32 minutes, which is pretty decent. As of late, he's been getting an average of 30 minutes. So at most 35 to 40 minutes, that rebound line seems about right. So, but if he's going to hit any of these lines, I probably think it's going to be on the boards. Let's look at the cum bucket real quick. Kuminga has been scoring the ball consistently as hell lately. Check that out. Lines at 19.5. He's covered this 8 of 10, 4 of 5. Last match against the Nets, he scored 10 points. Rebound-wise, 4 of his last 10, 2 of his last 5. He went under in his rebounds against the Brooklyn Nets. And assist-wise, 4 of 10, 3 of 5. But, yeah, I wouldn't take Jonathan Kuminga for assist. Who else do we have? Let's have a look at Nick Claxton. Now, the Warriors allow the most assists to centers. Nick Claxton's line is only at 2.5, but you can get this for plus money. He's covered it in 4 of his last 5, averaging 3.6 assists per game. And he's hasn't got many assists against the Warriors as of late. But, hey, the value's there. Points-wise, line's at 13.5. He's gone under in 4 straight. He's gone over in 3 of his last 10. He scored 19 points in his last game against the Warriors, though. Rebound-wise, line's at 12.5. 5 of his last 10, 2 of his last 5, 12 rebounds against the Warriors in their last matchup. None of that makes me tingle. Cam Johnson, the Warriors do allow the most assists to power forwards. Does Cam Johnson get assists? Not many, if any. But his line's at 2.5, and he's covered that in 6 of his last 10, 3 of his last 5. And he had 5 assists in his last matchup against the Golden State Warriors. So I don't hate that. Warriors are middle of the pack in terms of assists allowed. 2.5, you can get that from catching it on the wing, passing it off to the corner. You can definitely make it happen there, Cam Johnson, but I won't be. Points-wise, lines at 15.5. He's covered this in 3 of 5. And rebound-wise, only 2 of his last 10. Mikal Bridges, the Warriors allow the second most points to small forwards. His line's at 23.5. He's covered this in 4 of 10, 1 of 5, but only 14 of 48 games this season. And he's covered this in 1 of his last 4 against the Warriors too. So assist-wise, lines at 3.5. He's covered that in 7 of 10, 2 of 5, and 2 of his last 4 against the Warriors. So that doesn't get me up and about either. Cam Thomas. The Warriors allow the least assists to shooting guards. His line's at 3.5. He's covered this in 5 of his last 10, though, but he has gone under in his last 2 games against the Warriors. Points-wise, this is where this man shines. He's gone over in 6 of 10, but 5 consecutive games. He's averaging 30 points per game in his last 5. And looking at his matchups against the Warriors, scored 41 points in a matchup against them earlier this season. So the Warriors allow the least assists to shooting guards, but that doesn't bother me because we'd be looking at his points prop here. So knock on line, I got a tingle. There's a tingle somewhere down here, and it might be because of Cam Thomas. So let me know what you guys think. Do you get the same tingle? We shall see. But that's not bad at all, Mr. Thomas. Other than that, let's jump into the next and final game. It's a Toronto Raptors versus New Orleans Pelicans. We've only got lines available for the Pelicans at the moment. So we'll kick it off with Jonas Valanciunas. Points-wise, lines at 15.5. He's covered this in 4 of 10 and 2 of his last 5. Scored 12 points in his last matchup against the Raptors last season. Rebound-wise, he's hit this in 4 of 10 and 1 of his last 5. 13 and 12 boards against the Raps last year. Assist-wise, ain't nobody fucking with it. Jonas's assist. Let's look at CJ McCollum. Now, the Raptors allow the 6th fewest points, but they allow the 2nd most assists to point guards over the last 30 days. We had similar insights with SGA. SGA just versus the Raptors today, and it's very similar. He went under in his points, and he went well over his assists. So could we see something similar for CJ? Points lines at 19.5. He's hit this in 4 of 10, 1 of his last 5, scored 23 points in his last matchup against them. Assist-wise, lines at 4.5. He's hit this in only 2 of 10. He's gone under in 7 straight games. but he did have 5 assists against them last time. So that doesn't give me any confidence. Let's have a look at Zion. I think someone's a game time decision here. I think it is Zion. I'm not sure. But points-wise, 5 of his last 10, 3 of his last 5, scored 33 points against the Raptors the last time they played each other. The Raps allow the 6th most rebounds and the 2nd most assists to power forwards. Rebound-wise, he's hit this in 1 of his last 10. That just happened in his last game against the Spurs. But in his last matchup against the Raptors, he pulled down 10 rebounds. Assist-wise, he's covered this in 4 of his last 10, 1 of his last 5, and he had 5 assists in his last matchup against the Raptors. Jumping into BI, Brandon Ingram, points-wise, lines at 23.5. Got a good matchup because the Raps allow the 6th most points to shooting guards. He's covered this in 4 of 10, 3 of 5, and he scored 36 points in his last matchup against the Toronto Raptors. Looking at his boards, 5 of 10, 3 of his last 5. He's covered this 5.5 line, 7 rebounds against the Raptors. And assists, his line's at 6.5. He's covered this in 3 of 10, 1 of 5, but he only had 3 assists in his last matchup against them. That's a wrap on today's preview. I do hope you guys appreciate it. Got up early today, got ready for work, had a big day, 9-10 hours in the office, came straight home, did all my family things, put everyone to bed, got the kitchen nice and clean, got straight into the lab to get this preview done for you as soon as I possibly could, because I know some of you guys, especially in the US, you like to wake up, watch a little Daft previews while you eat your cereal in the morning. So try my best to get this all out as soon as I can. So if you do appreciate all the effort that I do go through, like the video, drop me a comment, say what's up, subscribe if you haven't. Best of luck for everybody who makes their bets based off this analysis. As always, I have my bets in the pinned comments probably an hour after this is uploaded. But until I see you guys in the next one, holla. Sub to the channel because your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice and the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.